music, dance, theater, it's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with yours truly, Tom Alvarez. My guest today is Dustin Klein, my artistic collaborator, co-owner and operator of Klein Alvarez Productions, LLC, and most importantly, my friend. Dustin is a pianist, singer, educator, songwriter, music director, and producer. Join me as I go on the aisle to chat with Dustin about our experiences together as creative partners. Welcome, Mr. Dustin Klein.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here.
So this is the cool thing about having one's own podcast. You get to shamelessly promote whatever you want, right?
That is true.
So let's proceed and let's share our journey, because we've had a really interesting journey, which has led us to this juncture. The listeners heard the introduction about all the various hats you wear and your accomplishments, but let's talk about Klein Alvarez Productions. But the whole idea is to tell people about our work and then discuss some particular projects that we've worked on in the past and are working on now. So that's kind of where we're going with this to our listeners. So you're going to get a peek inside a friendship and a business relationship, an artistic collaboration, if you will. So once again, how did we meet?
Well, yes, we were at a party. I believe it was a holiday party.
Yep.
Oh, good. As I'm getting older, my memory, gosh, it's been, 8 years?
But you need to back up. We technically met when you played the piano
Yes.
at an open house gathering,
right.
A business, right?
I was playing piano at an architect firm party I was hired for, and I remember meeting there. And then we were at a party after that, and we started talking about musicals and theater and just show business, and realized we had a connection, a lot of similarities in our passions and interests. And then, before long, we were hanging out and talking and going to shows. And then I had this children's book that I was writing a little play for and showed Tom.
Let's back up just a bit, because I think they'll find it interesting that because I'm a reviewer, I often am given a +1 ticket. So I think the first show that I invited you to, and there have been many, many, many since, was Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
because
yes.
a friend of yours,
That's
Elizabeth,
right.
let's give a shout out to Elizabeth Dawn.
Yes,
She
Elizabeth
played-
Dawn Scoble Bennett.
And she played the Wicked Witch. And so when I invited you to that show, you said, oh, my friend Elizabeth's in it. So, of course, that was our first time together. And I remember afterwards, I asked you to tell me what you thought about the show. And then I realized in that conversation, and then there were more afterwards, that, we sort of had the same reaction to the show. We had similar, I could tell that we had a lot in common in terms of I think we figured that out at the party, though.
Yeah, that we have very similar artistic tastes.
Similar knowledge, taste, and aesthetics, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, I wanted to establish that that's kind of what was the basis of what was to happen later as you continued to go more shows with me. And that was we had a friendship, but it wasn't until the story you're going to tell where it went further.
Right. Yes. And it's one of those things that's kind of fate, I think. It's amazing that you meet someone, at a party or a random event, and not even knowing it's going to be the next 9 years of your life, of friendship and creating.
We met in
such
2015,
things.
but it was 2016, I think, when we were this thing that you're going to tell us about happened.
Yeah. So gosh, I think about all the things I think we've done now. We've written and produced, 14 productions?
17.
17? Oh, see, I've lost track. Yeah.
But back to
the original. Yeah. Yeah. So what started all this magic, the Klein and Alvarez, that's what I feel it's been. I mean, it's just we both had talents that just gelled together, I think, that made it easy for us to create things for the stage. And I was asked, I was at the Orchard School teaching for 20 years, and I was asked to write a children's play about an artist named Alexander Calder. And I didn't know who he was. I thought, well, so I was reading this children's book called Sandy's Circus, and I was writing a play. And as I looked at the illustrations, it was so theatrical, and I was just mesmerized by it. And I remember showing you at my house at the grand piano. I said, look at this book. And I'm writing this play, and you had known who Calder was, actually. And then you said, well, this should be a musical. This could easily be a musical. And I had the same visions, like, there's Paris and there's New York and there's the circus, and it's got something for everybody. It's got kid characters, and the whole thing was just, and the theme of the show, of the story, was just so universal, that we immediately were excited by it. We started sitting down, and I remember, playing out some melodies on the piano, right that day. And then before long, we had a written production and involving.
Well, it wasn't quite that easy.
Well, that's true.
But let's break that down, though. Remember, my reaction after, the illustrations in the book, they're by a Russian illustrator.
Yes.
And he portrayed a Calder's life. Calder, that's where I think I mentioned that it was very theatrical, and the fact that, the story took place in New York City and in Paris, and he went back and forth. So there was the Paris thing, there was the New York thing. In Paris, he hung out with the expatriates, all of the famous people of the day, painters and authors, and Josephine Baker, and we'll get to that later, and, Alice B. Toklas, and I don't know, other artists, and so we quickly established it was theatrical. And then you went over to the piano and start pounding out melodies. Okay, that's an important part of the story. Mm-hmm. And I heard these melodies, and I said to you, hey, Dustin, do you know any lyricists? Because I think if you found a lyricist, you really have something. This all happened in real time very quickly. And then just as quickly as, after years of working with me, I kind of think on my feet sometimes. It just come to me immediately. And I had this thought that, well, I'm a writer. I've never written lyrics, but God knows, reviewing for 45 years, I know something about lyrics. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, what about me? I could write the lyrics. And then we were off. To the circus, as they say.
Yeah.
So right, because that's really what happened.
My confidence in terms of the lyrics was not quite where I wanted it to be. And I thought, oh my gosh, who would I find that could do this? And when you said that, it was just perfect.
We should also let our audience know, if they haven't, while they're listening to this, just go to Google right now and put in Alexander Calder, and you'll discover that, for those of you who don't know who he is, he was a sculptor. He was educated as an engineer, but along the way realized that, that he should take up the family business because his father was a sculptor and his grandfather was a sculptor. In fact, his grandfather, or his father, did a sculptures in University Park. Remember that?
Yes.
The one with the classical figures, Greek figures, the fountain.
Right here in our backyard in Indianapolis. They're all over the country. People don't even realize they're just everywhere.
So Calder initially was a sculptor. And so after he got his engineering degree, he first tackled what he became known for originally were circus. He had a circus, Sandy's Circus. His nickname was Sandy. So you tell him about his circus, what he would do with that.
So he's mostly known for creating art that moved, right? One of the first artists to create art that moved, which lends itself perfectly to the stage, to dance. And and we bring his art to life on stage is what we finally created. But the story of that, the wire and pliers, and he would make little wire figures and have a suitcase, and when he was a child, he would use wire and pliers to make characters and things. And then he just continued to do that when he'd make people's caricatures, their face in Paris, and say voila, and give them, he had this orange bike. And I mean, everything was just so whimsical. I mean, it almost reminds me of a Walt Disney character, but in a different way, right? A different artist, but that kind of imaginative, colorful story that.
And he would go to parties of famous friends in Paris and pull out his suitcase and lay out all of his figures. And his wife, what was her name?
Louisa,
his wife, would play the records, circus theme music of some kind. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. Actually, there's a film of them at the Whitney Museum, which we've both seen. The Whitney in New York houses a lot of his stuff. And so he would pull these figures out, and do a little miniature circus and perform everything. And he would move all the trapeze, the clowns, and, people loved it. It was so, again, it was all very whimsical, but people would sit down on the floor and they'd have cocktails and food and, he became really famous for this, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I related to that because when I was a kid, although I didn't use tools and things like that, that would have been scary. I loved putting on little shows, and I think when I met you, that's one thing that you saw in me and that I saw in you. From when I was a kid, I loved putting on shows, producing, performing. Of course, I used to want to be the performer, the star of the show. And then I started playing piano and that changed. But I've always wanted to put on little shows and create the sets and the costumes. And Calder did that in a way with the circus. And I just thought that was so magical. And then when you and I met, I was able to kind of bring those things to life.
Well, that's how we're different. I was not exposed to theater until I got into college, and that just changed my life. But when I was little, I didn't put on shows. I played office. How nerdy is that? And restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would make little sandwiches out of sunbeam bread, and I would put Coke bottle tops to make these little mess.
So were you the chef? You were the chef?
I was really a weird kid.
Were you the server or the chef, or were you the guest?
Oh, I did the whole thing. Maitre d', server, whatever. And then I loved Office. And my mom said when I was a little boy, I used to carry her old purse around. And people would stop me and ask me, "What's in your purse?" And she loved telling the story. I always turned red. And she said, I would always tell people, "Oh, I have my important papers in here."
Oh my gosh, that makes me think of Sophia from the Golden Girls with her little purse. Has to have, what's in that purse.
That was kind of an early Sophia. So we digress. So anyway, this all led to us. I want to get to other stuff that we're doing, but suffice to say, we brought it to fruition. Tell them about what we did.
I mean, we ended up writing, a whole album of songs and some of the music that is a theme to this show.
Well, we wrote the musical. Dustin, you created the lyric, or you created the music. You composed the music. I wrote the lyrics, and we co-wrote the book, and we fast-tracked it. The short version. Mm-hmm. We did a production at Indie Fringe in 2016, a 1-hour production of the Indie Fringe Theater Festival, and then we did the full production the following January 2017, and we expanded the show at that point.
So a bigger production. Yeah, I have to say that was just a magical time. I mean, I've always said to people that I don't think everybody gets this experience, but I hope that people out there pursue their passions like this, that anything, you always tell me, anything you want to make happen, you can make happen. But
well, here's the thing. We fast-tracked it in 16 months.
Yeah.
So is this a lesson in self-gratification or what? I was talking about this, but I really want to give people kind of an insight into what our creative process was and what could happen, right? But there was a lot of people that supported us along the way.
Oh, we were very, very lucky.
But I remember sitting down. You can share your process as a composer. So why don't you talk first about your process composing this music and how we work together?
Oh man, people ask that question. It's sort of hard.
Where does the music come from?
That's often asked of composers and songwriters. And it's like I'm at the piano and I have the vision in my head. And there's a scene where he's on a ship, right? That's the theme song, which I think you'll hear in this show we're going to play. There's the main theme of the show is called A Path to Follow. And he's singing that on the ship as he's going off to pursue his dreams. And, I was picturing that
from New York to Paris.
Yes. And then I was seeing that in my mind, and I just start tinkering with the melody and A Path to Follow. Of course, I wanted that to go up, that melody, because...
Where did the melody come from?
I think it was that melody was kind of always in me somewhere. And I just, I had never really had a chance to allow these melodies to get them out there. And I was influenced by a lot of the Jewish composers. I grew up, my mom collected records, and I grew up listening to all the, old musicals, Barry Manilow and Barbra Streisand and all the famous Broadway shows, And so I think I had a lot of that old Broadway sound in my head.
Gershwin.
Yeah. Those were a lot of
talked about
Alan Menken.
Jewish composers.
Love Alan Menken. Just brilliant. Of course, all his success with Disney and everything. But you definitely, when you hear the score to Calder, I think you will definitely hear a lot of those influences. It's not Hamilton, that's for sure, which I love. But
I would say it was a romantic, old style, traditional musical,
which fit because of the time period,
which was like the early 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah. So it was perfect.
Into his old age, and I think he died in the 70s, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
But I will say, getting your lyrics in front of me, when I have the lyrics, it just kind of, that's when at the piano, I can just soar out the music.
But I don't remember exactly. I wish we would have kept records of it. I tried to keep archives of what we did and all that, but it didn't go so far as I wish I had kept, it's not, this sounds like really self-serving, that, we should have kept all that stuff because who knows, it could end up in the Smithsonian, But really, people like Michael Feinstein has kept all these original pieces of paper that people wrote lyrics on. Yeah. So you never know.
I have some of that, I think, stored away.
Well, but the lyrics, I didn't go so far as writing stuff on paper napkins and stuff like that, but I do remember sitting in my dining room table at the time, and I was kind of under impression. I told you and announced it to everybody that I was writing lyrics for a musical. And so it's like, okay, what have I done? I've got how am I going to get out of this? And there's no way. So I would sit down with a blank piece of paper. No, actually, not blank paper. I mean, my computer, and a blank document. And I can't tell you what that was like, but, I said, in some of those cases, you had played me the music.
That's true. It kind of, it was kind of back and forth.
A couple of other times, I gave you the lyrics.
Yes.
I think it was more of you writing the music, you playing it for me, and my going home. And did we record it on the phone? I think maybe we recorded on the phone.
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
So I would sit down. Let's talk about the two different processes. So I would sit down, listen to your music, and be inspired to write the lyrics. And then
vice versa.
And vice versa.
Which I've read is how a lot of songwriting teams, that's how they work.
But I found for me that it was poetry. It was a form of poetry, and I'd never really written poetry. But I don't know, just because I've picked up so much osmosis over the years, going to Broadway musicals and just musicals on Broadway and everywhere else. So, I mean, it's like in me, that my memory of what I heard and what influenced me. And so I remember, and also lyrics. And so actually poetry came pretty easily to me, rhyming. I wouldn't say poetry, but it is poetry, but rhyming. But I know the struggle, and I'm sure you've been there as a composer, finding the right note.
Yes,
and we're both perfectionists.
Or this, thinking, oh, has this been done before? Is this? Oh, that sounds like another song that
Too derivative, right?
Right.
Derivative, and with rhyming, I had to really let go of my training as a writer of what I kind of interviews and and reviews and television, all that kind of stuff that I've done, I had to loosen up and say, hey, you can rhyme words that are silly. Don't worry about any of that. To quit second guessing, all of that. Remember, this is a really playful character. I was like really, as you know, something like when you're an artist, you're really self-critical. You're harder on yourself than other people are. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
So I like labored, and then I thought, oh God, that sounds lame, or that sounds silly. I can't use, but sometimes it was really struggle to find the right rhyme.
Well, yeah, one of the songs in the show, Dance With Me, which has like a Latin influence sort of, I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds so cheesy and camp. I mean, it's a campy song, but it worked. People liked it.
Hey,
so.
you know what? Let's take a break and give people like a little listen to what we did. I mean, right, the proof's in the pudding. So let's, we still have people who come back and they sing our theme song. So that's cool, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to tell you that this project, well, anyway, we'll leave that for later, but we got kind of a great announcement to make. But so we brought some music to share. What's the first piece we're going to hear?
So the first one is the opening of the show.
Well, actually, we got to back up because the theme, you wrote the theme. Yay. The theme is kind of a medley, what we heard of my show.
Yes.
With the fabulous Claudia Pauli. I mean, did you like that combination?
I love it.
How'd you like hearing your music as the theme of my show?
It's so thrilling, and having her voice, and then you coming in, and you helped write that music, so it makes it very personal than just some sort of generic music, right? So,
I mean, who gets to do this stuff, right? I mean,
Well, I always say, I think I've told you, I feel like if I was to die tomorrow, it's the fact that I was able to play the piano and play the score and then watch these actors and dancers dancing and singing your songs on stage and seeing the audience react is it's just beyond any kind of high.
I mean, and then, okay, but let's go back to what are we hearing? Let's.
Oh yeah. So this is the opening song of the show called "Calder, a Ton of a Man," which again, "A Ton of a Man" was a lyric you came up with, which was a great title. And it's the traditional Broadway musical opening, setting up the scene and telling about the main character.
And it takes place in a gallery of the of a retrospective of his work later in his life.
And of course, people are in the museum looking at his work, and then of course, like any musical, they start singing and dancing. Hasn't happened at the Whitney lately, has it?
Okay, let's listen.
His name was Calder. He brought art to life. Objects innocent, shapes and colors so right. Beloved for critters, lifelike and charming, made from wire, a circus disarming. Elephants and tigers and clowns and more. Acrobats and jugglers and lions that roar. He lived to bring joy, this artist called Sandy, and all he created, delightful as candy, an agreeable genius, who's called her the artist, whose vision was smartest, a ton of a man. Mobiles he fashioned, to dance in the air, hung from ceilings, revolving with flair. Wire and fence and motion kinetic, twisting and turning, the movement poetic. Form and balance and whimsy in space, bringing glee and rapture to many a face.
He built stables, so massive and stunning, abstract design, so playful and cunning, like soaring birds frozen in flight, shapes curvy and majestic and light, static and huge as they grace their spot. Colossal sculptures, they're seen by a lot. He lived to bring joy. Calder. He brought art to life.
An agreeable genius, a ton of a man.
An agreeable genius, a ton of a man. Calder. He brought art to life.
Art to
An agreeable genius, a ton of a man.
Wow. Recently I had listened to, and I'll share with our listeners what I had said to you. You really were obsessed. You've been obsessed with getting this musical, taking it out of the mothballs and sharing it again. And, and I kind of, now, of course, I kind of was not always as excited as you, but I didn't want to hurt your feelings. But at the same time, I finally admitted, said,
Thanks,
Dustin, I don't like my old work. I look through my fingers, like my TV work. I think, ugh, I like cringe. I'll probably do that with these podcasts, if I'm still alive.
I don't like to watch myself on TV or radio either.
Well,
so.
I think that's probably a good idea. It means that we're not complete narcissists.
Right.
But anyway, but I tell you, I finally figured out how to work Bluetooth, and it changed my life. So now in my car, I can hear anything from the world. I mean, really, but that's a whole other podcast. But so I heard our music in my car driving around town, and I saw our names on the monitor, on the dashboard, the digital. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, this is surreal. I mean, this is our work that we did in our living rooms, and then we had it recorded at a studio. And I mean, and hearing it, it changed my whole perspective. And I thought, wow, is it okay for me to say to myself, this is pretty damn good?
Oh, wow. Well, and we had a bunch of momentum. We were exploring it, getting it beyond Indianapolis. And then what happened? Well, COVID happened.
Well, not exactly.
A little bit after that.
Not exact. Well, yeah, that happened eventually.
And theater shut down. And so for 2 or 3 years.
If you recall, it was expensive to produce, but we had incredible support. We had, and we'll give her credit. Had it not been for philanthropist Marianne Glick.
Yes.
We went to her to ask her if she would support our show, and we went there filled with nerves. Remember, wondering, oh gosh, she's gonna think this is lame.
Yeah, who are these two people?
Good luck, but here's a check for $50, and that'll be that. And she whips out her purse after we do this big spiel, and she writes a check for $10,000. I mean,
which helped
we
get it
were
off the ground.
Our mouths dropped, and I think when we left there, we were numb. So thank you to this day, Marianne Glick. She kind of launched us.
She was a wonderful artist herself.
Oh my gosh, her visual art was
why she probably loved the topic.
Oh, exactly. So.
And Pauline Moffat, who also helped guide us.
Pauline Moffat, Indy French. I took the idea to her, hey, we want to do this musical. And I took my legal pad with me and started taking notes. And she went down the list of all the things that we had to do. You need to start a company. You need to do this. I'll help you get a pro bono attorney. I love the idea of this musical. You can do it here at Fringe. And we followed all her steps. So yeah, Pauline is a big influence. So anyway, I was listening to the music in my car, and that's when I came to you. I said, okay, Dustin, I get it now. Yes, we need to bring Calder back. And we had talked loosely about how to do that. And what we came up with is a concert version. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. Let's share that, what we've decided.
Yes. Well, a full production, obviously, we could always do again in the future, but it's very expensive. But a lot of times these new shows are doing concert versions of the songs. And we never did have a full orchestration. I mean, we had a vocal piano orchestration, but we still have not orchestrated. We both had dreams of hearing an orchestra play the music, strings and
horns. And
yeah. So we're now looking at doing that. And 2025, we have a goal of doing a concert version.
Getting it arranged for orchestra.
Of Calder.
Yeah, 18, 19 pieces.
which would be thrilling. And who knows beyond that?
Finding a good size medium music hall, a place built for music, and there are 3 or 4 places that we're thinking about, and finding maybe 10 to 12 singers. And
with the beautiful projections that we had to funded by that great
by
artist.
the way, we need to mention that we had a really incredibly talented illustrator artist, Ben Dobler. He's a genius. He is now on the staff of the Palladium. At the time, he was making his name, working locally at the Phoenix Theater and other places, but he had a reputation for, if you want a good projection or someone who creates projections and does sound, he's the guy. We couldn't use anything because of licensing, photos of Calder or anything like that. We really were careful to cross our T's and dot our I's, and we actually secured an entertainment attorney, Robert Midas, who is one of the very few copyright attorneys who specializes in entertainment law. And he guided us through the whole way because the Calder Foundation, the whole family, they pay special attention to people using his work for their own benefit without going through the foundation or through legal channels. So anyway, our artist created Calder's world that came from our script. And she also created images of his work, but in a way did not copy anything exactly. It was an impression. So that's where we were able to use Calder, the name, because I don't remember the particular legal ramifications, but it was in the public domain. Yeah. So we had a right to use his name.
And those images, those projections will add so much. But yeah, it's just
And they were exciting. Animated. They were kind of
they
not animated completely, but they have movement.
Mm-hmm. And we should thank all those people. We had so many talented.
We had Marielle Greenlee do our choreographer.
People that helped make all this happen.
She was a principal dancer with Dance Kaleidoscope.
Mm-hmm.
Who else?
All of the cast, the different
Logan Moore,
actors,
who played the lead Calder, has gone off to New York City, and Katie Schumann, who played his wife Louisa. I saw her recently in a concert version of Gregory Hancock's Frida Kahlo.
And we'd be recasting this new version.
Mm-hmm. And Mitchell Ray, who played the young Calder, when he left our French show, he went off to play Peter in Finding Neverland and cross the country in that show, Finding Neverland, about the Peter Pan. And we recently, we'll talk about that too. We'll talk about him coming back to the theater to join you and me. And we all appeared together in a production. But okay, so we will, over the course of the next year, you'll be hearing more details. We'll be sharing more details about Calder the musical, the concert version. So it looks like we're going into production mode. You know, since I have my own show, I can talk about whatever I want to, and I want you to give a shout out because I've come to. I've come to really, I think we have a closeness because of you. It's sort of your parents. Mm-hmm. Give them a shout out and what they've done for you because they'll be hearing this, of course.
Of course.
And your mom will post it and she will tell all of her friends and she'll tell all of her friends that come to our show too, right?
Well, I mentioned that,
Sherry Klein and Marvin Klein. Sherry, I know you're listening. You better get those butts in the seats like you usually do.
Well, she does. She, as I said earlier, that I grew up, she has a record collection. She owns like 1,000 records or something.
Vinyl.
Yeah, and she's got them all organized. But she used to play all those old records, and I would hear the music as a kid, and then I'd say, I want to be able to play that. And she bought me my first piano, paid for lessons from an old cousin I had who taught piano for years. He was a character. And then they've just been so supportive of
I always tease you because you're an
Mm-hmm.
only child, and I tell them they spoil you. They give you like 20 Christmas presents every year.
I know.
I'm just jealous.
And
because I come from a family of 9 and, anyway.
Well, now they have the dog, so they push that in the stroller and spoil the dog. But, they've been, whether it's my personal life, my lifestyle, my orientation or my work. They've just been really, really supportive. So I'm very lucky in that way.
Yeah. So
right now we have Broadway's Bad Girls.
Yes. Let's talk about Broadway's Bad Girls. I'll let you share that.
This is another example of a show that we both envisioned and we get to see it come to life. We usually do our fall drive down to Brown County, and every time we do that drive, we come up with, it must be the leaves or something. We come up with some new crazy idea.
It's become a tradition.
Yeah. But this 2 years ago, I guess that would have been, right? 2 years ago. Yeah.
What I love is it's intentional. We work that way. Okay. We're going to use this time together in a car to brainstorm.
Well, and I said to you, I've always wanted to do a cabaret, because I guess we should jump back into the after caller. We started Magic Thread Cabaret, which was
because we wanted to work together to do something creative, and I love cabaret.
And we both love cabaret.
You love cabaret, yeah.
So anyway, I said I've always wanted to do a cabaret of villain characters, especially the female characters, and I think it would be so fun because everybody loves a villain, and there's so many great ones: Miss Hannigan and Ursula and.
The Chicago cell block, the murders of Cook County,
and I'd never really seen
Cruella DeVille.
Yeah, I'd never seen a cabaret of female villain little vignettes, little scenes.
Yeah.
So I had some title that was a little.
This is podcast world. We don't worry. We can say words like, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I think I said to you, I think we should call it like the Bitches of Broadway or something. And you said, well, let's do maybe Broadway's Bad Girls. And I thought, well, that has a ring to it. And then we, you started giving suggestions of some scenes.
I think we would have got a little pushback if we used Broadway's Bitches, but that's just me.
I mean, maybe we want it to be a family. Kids
family
to come to the show.
Right,
so
family friendly. Yeah.
But of course today, I don't know. That probably doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
that
they
title,
can see anything they want on their iPhone.
Exactly.
So anyway, go on.
But anyway, you started suggesting some other villain scenes that I had not even thought of, like Rose from Gypsy and things like that, and
Norma Desmond from Sunset Boulevard.
And we've got a villain for everybody in this show, and it's funny, although it's not necessarily supposed to be funny. It's funny in an evil way, I guess.
There was a little concern about how we had a little concern that how would women we were presenting all these caricatures, and we were like,
for sure.
You always have to be concerned about your audience. It's a tricky thing. You don't want to second guess your audience, but you have to be aware for marketing reasons, all kinds of reasons. But the feedback that we got after the first show, we heard that women really loved it because, the women actually all come off as powerful and independent and outspoken.
Yes.
It
shows them as strong.
And they don't like take any duff from anybody, especially men.
Well, he had it coming, right? I mean, he deserved it.
And by the way, we have one male in the show. He's an MC, the wonderful Gemini Turner.
Mm-hmm.
He's like not only literally like he's like, well, he's a straight guy, meaning in the comedy parlance. All these women, he reacts to these women, and they abuse him.
Right.
It's
right.
And he just reacts to them. And, in fact, I'm going to give a shout out to Jay. Jay is the floor director here at Channel 8, where this podcast studio is. And, the show I do, Lifestyle Live, he's the floor director. And I discovered him.
Yes.
Well, actually, he'd done some theater, but when he found out that that we had a company, he approached me, and we became friends, and I took him under my wing, and we cast him in the show. So it's important to talk about Jay and these women, and
So now we've made it bigger and better. I want the audience to know that. Because we did it at Fringe in August, and it was luckily again in the top 5 shows. It's been amazing. We
sold out 3, although it was just a small theater, but nevertheless, we could say it was a sellout.
Oh, well, yeah, it was.
We had just at that point, there was only one show that didn't sell out, and there was a reason why. It would have, except for it doesn't matter, But theoretically, we sold out.
This show's different in that we've added songs and production numbers, and we've it's like anything. You do a show, and then what's fun is you can know what to tweak and what worked and didn't work.
I wish to heck that we could share some of the music from all the cabarets that we've done.
Oh my gosh,
we need to talk, but let's take a moment and share. Another piece from Calder, and what would that be?
So this is the theme song called "A Path to Follow," and it's
the anthem.
Yeah, the anthem of the show. And Calder sings this on the boat scene I was talking about, and it just really touches people. It's just such an inspiring lyric, and I think the melody really made people feel something. So I hope that the audience enjoys it.
Sleeping on the deck of a ship on the ocean, a faraway trip, a glorious sight I beheld upon waking, a vision sublime, my breath it was taking. On the right I beheld a fiery red sunrise, on the left a silver moon that dazzled my eyes. A path to follow, a goal for living my dreams, a path to follow, no matter how hard it seems. At that moment I searched my soul, remembering a time I felt whole, recalling my childhood delight, letting reverie take flight. I felt lost in misery falling until I embraced my true calling. A path to follow, I mean to reach for my dreams, a path to follow, no matter how hard it seems. Chase my passion with drive and nourish my desire to thrive. Trust my instincts and honor my truth. Reclaim the courage I had in my youth. Refuse to let others dismiss and defy me. To live a life filled with purpose, you'll see. A path to follow, it's time to reach for my dreams. A path to follow, no matter how hard it seems. Now my mission is clear, banish fear, bring on cheer, to fill the world with wonder and joy and hope to the young, be they girl or boy. And now I know that I have a path to follow, a path to follow, a path to follow. I'm off to live my dreams.
Dustin, as you know, we couldn't continue discussing the anatomy of making a musical without, again, we're talking about all the people involved who supported us and helped us. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our dear friend, Marianne Williamson Tobias, the classical pianist, board of trustee for the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra, writer, program notes, author for the symphony. Marianne, we're so honored that she agreed to be our de facto musical consultant. And I really want to share with our listeners what that was like. We took our music to her home to share our score with her.
Oh, jeez. And I was a nervous wreck.
And we sat together at one of her 2 grand pianos in her home. And she sat nearby, and our backs were to her. You played, and I sang. We both sang
crooned
together.
the songs out. Yeah,
we sang
like we used to do all the time.
So you finished painting the picture.
Oh my gosh! Well, here I am. I mean, I was trained classically as a pianist myself, but Marianne was not. The show tune queen, right? So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is not Beethoven. She's going to be like, what is this? Anyway, we played the songs, and it's funny. She would hear little things and go, fix that. But after a path, I think it was a Path to Follow, the song you just heard.
Yeah, we turned over.
We turned around, and she was like, was she crying or something?
She had tears. Tears were coming,
and
she
magical. Really respected the music and what we had done, and then
she made a gift later on for us to pay to have it
the score done
on paper, and then we took her to lunch and presented it with her. It was magical.
It was like 85 pages of music,
and to have her imprimatur, for it to pass the test for someone like her, she would never have done that. So that gave us, of course you're insecure when you do. And then, we did get a few catty people. Remember that one time we asked someone, well, did you see our show? And what did you think about it? Wrong question for this particular show. Well, it's a work in progress. And you remember how upset I got?
Oh, I was too. But when you put people don't realize whenever you put your art out there, you have to be ready. Yeah, but
then you also, as you and I have learned, you have to have a thick skin. Because you're going to hear it. People have their opinions.
I mean, even Hamilton, shows that performers have been so successful, people leave Hamilton and say, oh, I hated that. And if you wrote it, you would think.
I'm a reviewer.
Oh my gosh.
Hello. So who knows better than I how, someone's opinion, if they have any kind of influence, and I'm not saying that I'm like this great arbiter of wisdom, because this is my opinion, my truth, and that's how the way you should look at it, what reviewers have to say. But, switching hats and then putting my work out there was
yes, I remember that was hard.
It was harrowing. It was harrowing. What are people going to am I going to be, that's all insecurity. But
well, and you and I have talked about, when you review, you do a good job of this. Trying to find the positive, in a piece of art. Because
but that has its drawbacks too.
Yes,
then you become he's so nice.
Well, you want you can be constructive, but people don't. I don't think the everyday person knows the amount of work and tears and
that's why
that goes into any show.
That's why I want this podcast to be effective, so people can open up the curtains to see the wizard behind what behind the scenes, what it takes.
I mean, some shows on Broadway that 2 years are spent, and then it lasts for a month or two, and then it's gone. I mean, it's just people don't realize, wow, the amount of sweat and tears that went into that. And I maybe some people do, but I hope that people will continue to find the positive in anything that.
Let's talk about our mission. Every not-for-profit or business usually has, what is your stated mission? What is the reason for your existence? And, when we started our company, we came up with, well, exactly, why are we doing this? What is our motive? So let's talk about our mission. Most important,
Well, I think we both agreed that there's so much talent in Indianapolis, in the Indianapolis area, that everyone says, oh, well, the tour is it's the New York tour that's in town. Okay, well, that's great. But there's a lot of talent here. I mean, I've seen shows here with talent that's just as good as New York or Chicago or wherever. So, I think a lot of people are not discovered, or they don't have the stage or the spotlight to show their talent. And so you and I said, well.
Or the connections.
Yeah. And
or the luck.
Yeah. We said, let's do a cabaret that features local talent that's affordable for people to experience the art form, because not everybody can pay $70 a ticket.
Go to the big guys. Yeah.
And you know, our goal was not to bring in Broadway people; it was to focus on some local talent, and then
we also
diverse talent.
We
too.
also showcase a few artists who are from here, went to New York, made their mark, and we brought them back for homecomings. That was cool.
That was, yes. Yeah. But
Corey Lingner, for one, 5 Broadway shows. Melissa Schott, another New York performer.
So. And a lot of our cabarets, whether it's Cabaret Latino that we did, Les Chanteuses, which is the African-American tribute to divas, the Jewel Box Review, which is the story of the first, one of America's first drag troupes, which is a fascinating story. I also
they were
love
called
to do more
female impersonators back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think
all those shows we've done,
one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that as part of our mission statement, you know, we had help with our marketing at the time, and I'll give a shout out to Shannon Sampson, who suggested, you know, we wanted to incorporate the fact that, you know, we paid our artists, you know, stipends.
Yes.
It was very important for us to pay. I mean, certainly not the marketable rate that if you were working professionally that you would receive, but it was still, it was more than just a token too. It was a way for us to demonstrate that we valued artists' time and talent, and that they were worthy of compensation. There's plenty of community theater where avocational actors do it for free, but we consciously also want to make a statement about everyone knows that it's hard for creatives to make a living, period. But in a market like Indianapolis, the people who want to advance have to go to Chicago or New York.
And everybody from our customer to our stage managers to not just the performers, but we've always paid everybody.
And I guess what I wanted to say is that Shannon coined this term, which is great. I'd not heard it, but it works. It's income building. And I don't know if I ever told you the story about how after one of our shows, I think it was Broadway's Leading Ladies that we did at Fringe one year, one of the actors posted the day that she got a check from us for her work on that. And she posted how she didn't name the show, but she said, I just did a gig and I got my check for it. And I was able to buy groceries to put in my refrigerator. And, you know, she expressed how grateful she was that, you know, she was able to do what she loves, but be able to like have money to, you know, to feed herself. And that really brought home about the impact that we were truly having. It was more than just like a couple of guys putting on shows, that we really could in our own small way. And, you know, it sounds like we're patting our own backs, but since we are artists ourselves, I think we have a real understanding of what makes artists tick.
And we always paid them first.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we sure did that at our own expense. But, you know, I mean, didn't it feel good to be able to give those people checks?
Yeah.
You would write these notes.
Yeah. And the audiences, you know, obviously our aim is to inspire and bring art to the audiences too, but I never thought about that. The audiences and the performers and everybody, yeah.
And you know, also we have to talk about one thing I did as we're tooting our horns, and I'm so proud of the fact that we partnered with Casey Ross's company, Catalyst Repertory. Let's talk about that experience last year.
That was
Streetcar Named Desire, my return to the theater, the stage, after 20-year hiatus.
Yeah, Streetcar Named Desire, a wonderful production that Casey directed, and there's so much talent in that cast, and I was honored to be part of it. Of course, you brought up to my attention, well, can you compose some themes for this masterpiece play? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that was intimidating. But
Casey's concept was to have live music.
Yeah.
The original production back in the 40s, I believe it was the 40s, they did have live music. And subsequently, you know, like in a movie score, but they really were pioneers, the production way back then.
And it was really, really magical.
And then we God, Channel 8 is just filled with talent. Courtney, Wiggins,
which you
who is
discovered.
a producer here on Wallen, Indiana. It was Jay who I saw in the studio. I said, one of our actors dropped out, a singer. And I'm like desperate. Do you know anybody? He says, I'll think about it, Tom, and I'll give you a text in a few hours. And sure enough, he texted me the name of Courtney Wiggins. And she's a coworker. She called me within an hour. We met for coffee a few days later, and with a week to go, she stepped in.
She was so lovely to work with. And she was the New Orleans, torch singer.
Yeah.
And I played and I wrote all those themes.
What were some of the songs that she sang?
Oh, gosh. Cry Me a River, Stormy Weather, all those kind of torch songs that related to the theme of the play. But then I did some themes for the characters and that kind of thing, like instrumental scoring and that. Piano scoring, and that was fun. But yeah, I think that was a highlight of
we've been mentioning all these entities like Klein Alvarez Productions, but just want to explain that is the umbrella company. It's for profit, but we have two brands. It's Called the Musical, and we have Magic the Cabaret, and our fiscal sponsor allows us to solicit not-for-profit dollars. So if anybody wants to donate to our cause, they can find us at kleinandalvarez.com, and there's a donate button, and you can make safe, secure donations to our mission. And Fractured Atlas is what it's called. It's a New York membership organization that Pauline Moffat suggested that allows us to not have to go through all the paperwork and maintain a 501c3, but we get to use them, and they are a 501c3. Dustin, what are the dates and the times for Broadway's Bad Girls? Let's do a little commercial plug.
Yeah, coming up in a couple of weeks. We're at the District Theater on Mass Ave, and
what are the dates?
Main stage. Yeah, the dates are March 7th through the 10th.
Thursday night at
7:30, Saturday night 7:30, or Friday night 7:30, and then we have a Sunday matinee at 3 o'clock. So 4 shows, and that's it. You got 4 shows to get to, and I tell people you'll definitely be entertained.
Let's talk about the performers and the musicians.
Well,
individually.
Okay.
Let's give them a shout out.
Yeah, Ann Stout, who is just so funny and wonderful, great belter voice. She plays Miss Hannigan and does Norma Desmond.
And also Worst Pies in London from Sweeney Todd.
Yep. Yeah. And we have Jalen Keating.
Yep.
Who does
Ball State
Defying
musical
Gravity
theater student.
Wonderful talent. She does Defying Gravity, Gorilla DeVille, great singer and dancer. And Marlena Haig, who is also doing the villain from Matilda and Rose from Gypsy. And then we had a 4th girl that, because of some vocal surgery, couldn't do this round. So I think I had said to Tom, or we had said to each other before this.
This is my idea. Give me credit.
Okay. Well, you're right. When I came up with the idea of the show, actually in my head, I kind of thought of seeing all 4.
You always say that.
4 men. I saw 4 men doing this actually,
okay.
but it's good as it is. But we knew a great guy named Jim Melton, Madison Avenue,
who had been in our drag
in our
female
Jewelbox review.
Yeah, and he was fabulous.
He was, and very funny. And we thought, what if we give this a twist this time and made one of the girls,
a man,
like a man,
an impersonator.
I always wonder how quickly the audience will realize after the opening number, but maybe they won't. That's the fun part. But.
Well, he's an actor. He pulls it off, and we chose him because he's a triple threat.
Oh, yeah.
And he's totally believable. And he brought down the house when we did it at Indie Fringe. So,
and our musicians, we've got great musicians. We've got a great team of people.
Our musicians are always, we hire pros, people who are well-known. Cabaret Latino, for instance, they're all the musicians that you know from the Jazz Kitchen. So that's the quality. I want people to know that our performers may be avocational and not full-time equity. Well, we've also had equity people in our companies. And at great expense, but we cast them because and they were local, of course, but we always take great pains that we consider ourselves professional, although it's, technically semi-professional. But our musicians are certainly pro. You're a pro.
Well, thank you. You too.
Talk about what you do for a day job.
Well, so for about 25 years now, 23 years, I guess, I've taught music. I went to college for music education. So that's my day job, and
Where?
Oh, that might be important. So I was at the Orchard School for 20 years and directed plays and musicals and choirs there. And then now I'm at Carmel at West Clay Elementary, directing music and theater there. So I've been very lucky to be at two great schools, and I learned so much in all those years.
You got a great project coming up. Talk about it.
So yeah, we're doing Willy Wonka Jr. as our musical there, because Wonka the film just came out. The kids are all excited about it. And that, I don't know how I do all that on top of what we do. People are like, "Are you crazy?" It's probably why I look like I've aged 20 years. But
how old are these?
I
kids?
like to stay active.
How old are these kids?
Oh gosh, these will be fifth graders. And for a lot of them, this is their first time on the stage in a play, in a musical. So it's neat to see.
I should add that I've seen a lot of your work over the years. When you were at Orchard, I regularly went to your fourth grade musicals and your seventh grade musical.
Oh, yes.
And they were some of my best moments in the theater because I wasn't working, number one. I didn't review. I just went, and I always told you this. I loved them so much because the kids were so guileless, innocent, and uninhibited. They hadn't been marred by society to the point where they hardened and became adults. And it was magical.
And everything to them in that is just, it's all imaginative and exciting, and so I'm looking forward to it.
And you also invited me to address a couple of your classes to talk about what I do, and that was just I loved that. I loved it so much. There's the questions they asked.
Well, we'll have to do that again.
Yeah. Well, I've always been I've always loved mentoring people, and I just got to know our producers, Alan Hall's son Andre, who is in show choir at Franklin, and I'm looking forward to helping him in any way I can, just kind of share my experience.
Well, I've learned a lot from you. I want to thank you. I mean, whether it's the business side, first of all,
and
the business side I knew nothing about, and also producing in general. I would say producing. I mean, that takes a lot of.
And conversely, expertise. I have sharpened my knowledge of music. I wasn't trained anywhere close to where you were. I mean, I sang in choruses and studied musical theater, and I can read music to an extent. But you've taught me a lot, and it's helped me as a writer. I have vocabulary now that I didn't have before.
Oh, yeah.
I don't write for musicians, but at the same time, it can be really intimidating. And, I didn't want to write about classical music for a long time until I met Marianne and became friends with her, and realized she wrote a book about classical music for beginners, and I taught myself by reading her program notes.
Oh yes, I think maybe I didn't remember that story.
So this turn that your life took after you met me, I asked you this question the other day. If we hadn't met each other, we've both been blessed because of the experience, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I look back at the last, how many years would we say? 8 years?
Yeah, 8 years. Most companies go down the tubes after 3 years, and the fact that we've got this far. And
well, we've had so much support, but I think that we've
that's the thing.
Earned that way. I mean, we've tried to.
We have some of the most important names in Indianapolis who back us. That's no small thing. And I like to think that, fundraising is all about relationships, developing relationships. And I think your skills as a teacher certainly contribute to that. You've created a lot of goodwill in the community. And
you too. I mean, with everything you're writing and supporting the arts, I think too, over the years. I mean, it's just incredible.
I think people react to the chemistry that we have. I think, it's funny. When we first started, we have to talk about our age difference because there's a 30-year difference. I'm 76. Are you able to tell your age, or are you going to hide it?
Well, it depends on the day.
Embrace it.
So yeah, I'm 45.
Okay. Yeah, you're still young.
So
you always need to keep it in perspective. Okay, well,
well,
and look, I'm a youthful. See, look what you have to look forward to.
But I complain more than you do. So when I'm your age, I'll be miserable to be around.
Well, see, I always tell people the reason the age differs is because you're an old soul and I'm a youthful. I'm not quite an octogenarian, but I'm getting there. Anyway, we'll probably continue to brainstorm on those yearly trips to Brown County, God willing. But in the meantime, I think it's been just a really wwonderful journey, and I can't wait to see what lies ahead.
We have to think about that.
How do you?
Well, Calder, of course. Yeah, Calder. We talked about, but who knows what else we have to.
And the short term, Broadway's Bad Girls, right?
Maybe we'll write another musical.
Well, we've talked. We've thrown some ideas around. We talked about like Josephine Baker, because that's and he was Calder's inspiration.
I've always been fascinated by her life.
He would go to see her perform, and he actually created some mobiles of her likeness, which are very famous. And we remember we went to Washington, D.C. and saw those in an exhibit, a Calder exhibit.
Yes.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And we've done that a couple times. We've gone to see his work various places. I don't think you went with me to the Whitney. Did you ever make it to Whitney to see his miniature circus?
I did see it. Yes. It was really.
And people
moving.
would, anytime people would go anywhere in this country and see Calder stuff, they would always think of us, and they would
send pictures.
Send pictures, and his book now is in 2 volumes. I admit I've not gotten through the first one. I don't know when I'm going to.
It's a long book.
Oh my God. But he's got an incredible life. What a movie that would make.
It would make a great
all the elements.
Well, do we own the rights to this? Yeah, we could advertise.
Well, that's
it
on my
film.
bucket list. I've always wanted to produce a film, but so how would you? I'd like to leave with this. Some people may think that's such a cliche, but I like asking this question because I'm interested. How do you want to be remembered, Dustin Klein?
That's a great question. Well, I hope that I'll be remembered as someone that contributed my talents musically and theatrically to audiences. And I hope I'm able, now because of Calder, I'm able to leave something. That's what's neat about what we do is what you create can live beyond you, right? Your time on earth. And we got that with the Library of Congress now, and it's notated, and people can always perform those songs.
You can get it on Spotify, Amazon,
Well,
iTunes.
I guess the recordings live on too, right? And I affected children, which I've done now for 23 years. I know I've influenced
because
a ton
when I
of
go
those
out in
kids.
the public with you, you're always some parents coming up to you.
I know. I try to hide behind a clothes rack.
That's so cool. I like being around that to see that attention that they, Yeah, there are a lot of, those kids are now adults, some of them, right?
Yeah, they're starting to be. Yes.
And sooner or later, get used to it. They're going to have their kids. They're going to be introducing you to their kids. Well, I was your age when I was in, his play of whatever. You even did Calder. You did
with kids at Orchard, yeah. Yeah, they were in that.
I forget that.
The children's production I did, with the songs and everything.
Yeah, but what is this piece that we're going to hear as we sign off on this show today?
Well, so at the end of his career, he started creating bigger pieces, mobiles and stabiles. The mobiles move in the wind, right?
Yeah.
Pieces of art that moved in the wind. And so this is called the mobile.
Well, they came before
the stabiles.
3-story sculptures, yeah.
But this one is called the Mobile Ballet.
Yeah, and he invented mobiles. So what you see, for those who don't know what we're talking about, mobiles are those whimsical things that hang in your baby's cribs with pieces of metal or plastic attached to wire, and they move.
So we had the dancers in a ballet, and they were the art that was moving.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sort of pictured an impressionistic kind of piece, like a Debussy kind of piece. And I had never written a classical piece, actually. This is probably the most classical piece I would say of the score.
Every time I hear it, because I didn't, it's you. It's not me. My lyrics, there aren't any lyrics. It's an instrumental. And it truly is moving. It's one of the pieces that I think a lot of people, to this day, it has an emotional quality. And even when we visited a sound producer who records and who's an artist himself, he complimented you on the piece. And I don't know if you remember that. Tim Brickley, who owns Hit City. Remember when we went over there?
Yes, it was very nice.
To record the opening for the show. And shout out to Tim for his part in the show. That compliment, I know from my perspective that was coming from him. You should be very proud of that.
He's such a nice person. Yeah. And so it has an innocence to it, but also sort of a dreamy magic to it.
Yeah.
And
okay, let's sign off with Mobile Ballet from Calder the Musical. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to say?
Oh gosh, man, I think that you asked, great questions. It was nice to share a lot of our work and memories. I mean, we haven't really done that for people to hear, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a real gift. And, I'm grateful to our producer, Alan Hall, and I'm grateful for All Indiana Podcast Network, because this is a really great platform. Not many people have the opportunity like I have to showcase the arts and to highlight artists and, again, what makes them tick. So hopefully
thanks for having me on. I mean, this guests you've had have been amazing. So it's,
well, I have a lot to look forward to. So again, thanks for being here. And I'm sure we'll run into each other sooner or later. Like tech rehearsals start Monday.
We'll be there with bells on. Yeah. I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, And make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.